Trying to find your way through recovery from substance use can honestly feel like you're lost in a thick forest with no map, but you are definitely not alone on this journey. And while it's tough, it is so far from impossible. Today, we're going to lay out that map for you, a really clear, structured guide to treatment and the whole process of change. So, let's dive right in. Just making that decision to change is a huge first step. But right away, it can bring this flood of questions, right? Like, where do I even begin? What kind of help is actually right for me? And all that uncertainty can feel pretty overwhelming. But the good news is you don't have to figure all this out by yourself. There really is a structured, proven path forward, and we're going to walk through it together right now. So where does this path start? Well, it begins with understanding all the different treatment options out there. And this is not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. The whole point is to match the level of support to your very specific personal needs. The framework that professionals use for this is called the stepped care approach.
The American Society of Addiction Medicine, you'll hear it called ASM, lays out 4 main levels of care, and they range from the least restrictive, like outpatient services, where you're still living at home, all the way up to the most intensive, which is 24/7 care in a hospital. And the core idea here is absolutely crucial. You start with the least intensive level that will still be effective for you. That way, you get exactly the right amount of support without totally disrupting your life more than necessary.
Okay, so let's break down those first 2 levels. Level 1, outpatient, is going to be a great fit if you have a pretty stable home life and you're at a low risk for withdrawal symptoms. It gives you that support while you're still going about your daily life. Now, level 2, intensive outpatient, that's a step up. This is for when you need more structure, more monitoring to prevent a relapse. Maybe because your home environment isn't super supportive, but you don't quite need 24/7 care. Now for the more intensive levels. Level 3 is what we call residential treatment, and that's where you actually live at a facility. It's designed to really break the cycle of addiction by completely removing you from a triggering environment and giving you a totally structured, sober place to be. Level 4 is the highest level of care, and here's the key difference. It's for when there are serious medical or psychiatric issues that are a major concern. We're talking things like liver disease or severe depression that need constant medical oversight right alongside the addiction treatment.
All right, so beyond those general levels of care, there are also these specialized tools that can be absolutely essential for a safe and successful recovery. So let's take a look at 2 of the most important ones, detox and medication.
First up is detox. Now, it's really important to get this. Detox is not the whole treatment. Think of it as step 1. It's a medically supervised process that uses medication to help manage the really tough physical symptoms of withdrawal. It just makes it safer and way more comfortable to stop using a substance. So when is a medical detox absolutely necessary? Well, it's for those situations where stopping on your own isn't just hard, it's downright dangerous. For instance, if you've ever had seizures during withdrawal before, or if you're dependent on substances like alcohol or barbiturates, where quitting cold turkey can literally be life-threatening, then medical supervision is the only safe way to go. Okay, now let's look at the specific medications available, especially for opioid use disorder, because this is fascinating. You've got methadone and buprenorphine, which help manage withdrawal and cravings. Then there's naltrexone, which actually blocks the high from opioids, and that's a huge help in preventing relapse. And, of course, Narcan, which is an emergency medication that can literally reverse an overdose and save someone's life. Each one has a different job, but they are all incredibly powerful tools. Okay, so we've covered all the external stuff. The treatments, the medications, the things that can build a solid foundation for your recovery. But what about the internal journey? Because at the end of the day, recovery is all about personal change, and really understanding your own mindset is the absolute key to moving forward. To really get a handle on that internal journey, researchers have identified 5 distinct stages of change. And here's the thing you have to remember. It is not a straight line. People move back and forth between these stages all the time, and that is totally 100% normal. The goal is always progress, not perfection. So let's see what these stages actually look like.
The whole journey starts at a stage called pre-contemplation. At this point, you're not even thinking about changing, because from your point of view, there's no problem to solve. Your friends or your family might be worried, but you just see it as them overreacting. There's just no intention to change because you don't think change is needed at all.
Next up is contemplation, and this is a massive shift. That denial starts to crack a little bit, and you begin to admit that, okay, maybe there is a problem here. You find yourself thinking about making a change, maybe sometime in the next 6 months or so, but you haven't really committed to a solid plan just yet. You're just kind of weighing the pros and cons in your head.
And that leads to the preparation stage. Here, the idea of change gets way more concrete, way more immediate. You're actually planning to take action soon, usually within the next month. This might mean taking small but really important steps, like looking up treatment centers or telling a close friend what you're planning to do. You might still have mixed feelings, but you're moving from just thinking about it to actively planning for it.
The action stage is exactly what it sounds like. It's where you are actively changing your behavior. But this is about so much more than just stopping use. It's about learning totally new ways to think, to feel, and to cope with life. You're building a whole new toolkit of skills to deal with cravings and manage the people, places, and things that trigger you.
And finally, there's maintenance. This is the long game. The focus here is all about sustaining the incredible changes you've already made. You're working on building a balanced life, learning to spot your personal relapse warning signs, and really locking in those new, healthier habits for the long haul.
So, those are the stages. But what actually powers you through them? What keeps you going when things get really, really tough? Well, the fuel for this entire journey is motivation. But as anyone who's ever tried to make a big life change knows, motivation isn't some constant thing. It comes and it goes. And that brings us to such a critical point. It is completely normal to feel torn, to have one part of you that desperately wants to change and another part that's maybe scared or resistant or just comfortable. You don't have to wait for that internal fight to be over to get started. Your job is simply to start building a stronger case for one side, the side that wants a new future. And here is an incredibly powerful tool to help you do just that, the decision-making matrix. This is where you get really honest with yourself, and you list out all the pros and cons of both quitting and continuing to use, thinking about both the short-term and the long-term. This simple exercise can help you clarify everything and see the full picture, which can be a massive motivator all by itself. And when you feel that motivation start to dip, and trust me, it will, you need some concrete strategies to pull yourself back up. Reconnect with your why. Why did you start this? Remind yourself of the pain the substance caused and compare it with the good things you've already gained. Think about your loved ones. And this one is huge. Lean on your support system. Ask other people in recovery what they did when they felt the exact same way you're feeling.
Whew, we have covered a lot of ground. The different levels of treatment, the medical tools you can use, the psychological stages of change, and the fuel of motivation. All of this information, it's the map. But a map is pretty useless until you pick a destination. To start any journey, you first need a goal.
So, we'll end with just one single, powerful question for you to think about. Forget all the steps and the stages for just a moment and simply ask yourself, what do you truly want to change? What is your number one goal for yourself right now? Because that goal, no matter how small it might seem, is exactly where your path begins.